What is up? Shop Talk. Shop Talk podcast. Oh yeah. And once again, we are live from the workbench. This is for episode 43, I believe. We have some reads to go through. A lot of stuff happening around the league. And here in I don't know how many minutes from now we'll get to the title and the tag. That should be pawn shops have everything that you want and not necessarily everything that you need. And we'll get to that in a few. There is a bunch of NBA news going around the league right now. I don't have any reads this week. Do a quick little sound check. I've been coming up with some different ideas, and I'll get into that in between some of the NBA news and run them by you. And let me know what you think, too. Yeah, let's see a little.
It's not sudden. Preparation.
And, so you got Victor Oladipo just tonight. Let's see if I can't turn this down. I don't want to get flagged. I believe he went up for a block, and in the last 2 years, he's probably been one of the most explosive players. When he went to Oklahoma City, much like Dion Waiters, he went up for a block. Kind of, fell to the wayside with Russell Westbrook, and even with Waiters, they wouldn't really let him do much of anything. So he had this injury tonight, and it almost looks like his kneecap became detached, which is freaking crazy. Yeah, the trainer grabs the Gatorade towel and covers it up, which as he should, and he does actually look like he's in a ton of pain. I wonder if it just came detached. I hope it's not. Obviously, it could be a lot more severe than that. Harden, I was at work, and the guy I was working with said Harden went for 67 points. Well, I came home and had to look it up. He went for 61, career high. And that was against the Knicks. You won't be hearing this till later, obviously. It's about, 3:17 a.m. Eastern Time right now. If that tells you anything. Yeah, I've been meaning to get to you guys. I don't know how the schedule's going to work out. I always used to like to put out the podcast around on a Sunday because no one else does put out podcasts on Sunday. And that way you have there for all week. The cooking videos are kind of getting in the way. They're taking me longer. I have to edit them. I have to do a voiceover. Blah, 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 blah. It's mainly the recording of it, getting the right shot. And it's not necessarily the right shot. It's just with the tripod I have right now and how I'm actually doing everything. But anyways, yeah. So back onto the scores career high. Oh, and sets a Rockets franchise probably high for most points scored in a game. Good for him. And the other news, I was Wikipediaing James Harden, looking at his contract, and I can't remember if it said he was the fourth highest paid player, sixth or seventh highest paid player as far as contracts go, but not just in the NBA, out of all sports. And all the other guys were baseball guys, which just amazed me. That must be that old white money that I don't have. But it just amazed me because I keep going down the list. All baseball guys. And this is over a long period of time. So, as far as contracts go, the length of the contract, I should say. So they're just combining, extensions that. Anyways, getting off track here. So then I came down the line because I was talking to another guy at work, and I wanted just to get NBA 2K to see how contracts matched up. That way, I didn't. It's a lot less confusing when you can just go to Trade Finder or trade, or do a manual trade and try to line up contracts because it gets tricky. Blah 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 blah. So, in the news lately, that the Grizzlies have made it known publicly, so which is actually in their best interest, and I don't blame them. And they should make it more known of people that they're shopping around Mike Conley and Marc Gasol. Okay, so, well, guess who was on that list of contracts? Was Mike Conley has one of the biggest. He has the second biggest contract for an NBA player over a period of time. So that was what I was talking to the guy at work about, because I wanted to see how Mike Conley's contract would match up with Cleveland, because I would really like to see Mike Conley, former OSU basketball player, and if you've ever listened to this before, we're in Ohio, so it'd be good for him. 31, he's 31. He's still got, I would think 4 or 5 years. Solid defender. I would love for him to come to the Cavs. I don't care that we have the Bull. And another guy was talking, you can match up this contract. You can match up J.R. Smith, and I think he was thinking Tristan Thompson. But you also got to think, what is the other team involved? That's why I was like, the only reason why I want the game. Well, and I want to play it too. I used to be big into 2K. But then you got Marc Gasol. A lot of people speculating that he will go to the Lakers. I personally would like to see him go to the Hornets, and so they can keep Kemba Walker, because he's going to be a free agent after this season. And then also, I would like a lot of things. The Dallas Mavericks have showed some interest, but I mean, what are you going to do? Have him come off the bench? Are you going to play him instead of DeAndre Jordan? Have DeAndre Jordan come off the bench? I don't know. I think he's a much better fit for the Hornets. Yeah, would I like to see him go to the Cavs, of course, but that's not going to happen. But I will say this all changes some of the things, like in the East with Victor Oladipo's major leg injury that just happened. Let's see here. What else is... Jesus. Watching the Cavs highlights. Oh, yeah. Saints fan suing NFL over blown call, which I agree. And I don't talk that much about football on here, mainly because I don't have enough time to watch it. I don't have much time for anything, but, there was a lot of bad calls in the Saints-Rams game. I did watch that, fourth quarter and beyond of that game. I watched some of the Patriots game. I did make it a point to watch the AFC and the NFC game. I just didn't. I hate to say it. I didn't want the Patriots to. I don't want to watch them again in the Super Bowl. Do I think I watched the Super Bowl? More than likely, yes. At least highlights of it. Knowing me, I'll probably have to work during the game. But the super fan, he's suing the NFL. I love it. I love it. He should. I mean, not in the New England game. Yeah, there were bad calls. The Edelman thing, I don't care. I listened to the Bill Burr thing. He said, it wasn't that he could have touched his thumb. It's but it's quite obvious it touched his arm, or maybe I'm quoting him incorrectly. Either way, it fucking touched him. Even when he was trying to wave his arms. Edelman, yeah, go get drunk or take some more Adderall or whatever the fuck you were doing a few seasons ago. Again, I don't pay enough attention to it to even comment on it, but I have my own little soapbox here, and I can fucking comment on anything that I want. But God, watching the Cleveland versus Celtics game, it's very hard to watch the Cavs. I know they're tanking. I totally get it. You got all these guys out that are hurt. Are they really hurt? Or they just sit on them so they can tank? Here's another guy I wouldn't mind having on the team. Trade for Dennis Smith from the Dallas Mavericks. They obviously don't want him. They got Doncic. I don't have a problem with that. Bring him in. He's a high riser. Even in 6, 7, 8 years, when he does lose his explosiveness, who knows, that could be in 10 years, 12 years. I don't care. By then, he will develop all the other stuff. He's not Markelle Fultz. He's not going to just lose his shot one day. I mean, he doesn't really have that much of a shot, but still, everybody's tanking to get Zion Williamson. And I get it. You got the Suns out there. They have one of the highest, offensive ratings in the league. I think they're 4th. And they're like 24th or 26th in defensive ratings. I don't even know if there's fucking 26 teams. I just heard someone else talking about it, God damn it. But if they would just get out there and guard somebody, they would probably make the playoffs. Well, they probably would have made the playoffs if they would have played that way all year long. I don't think that's possible for them now. So that's another thing. Wrapping up, as we get into the pawn shop talk, there's just a lot of BS and shit going around the league. I can't wait until somebody from the Golden State Warriors ends up on another team, whoever that may be. I would love for them to trade the donkey. What's funny is before the rivalry, before the Cavs, and, well, it's over now, pretty much. Before the rivalry of the Cavs and the Golden State Warriors, that was my second favorite team, the Golden State Warriors, before they were what they are now. But I think the league's changing a little bit too, and we'll see. We'll see. That's another thing. I'm going to get this worked out to where I have a little beer break song. If I have to get up and do something, a little clip or something I could put in here. So, anyways, I'll be right back.
Where's my cat?
I killed your cat, you druggy bitch.
So I'm back. Yeah. I got some good and bad things. I know you guys probably don't give a shit. But before I forget, I need to say this. Excuse me. Thank you, Nick G. I don't want to say your full name, for supporting the show. And I hope you guys are out there on the side of the building, swinging from the side of the building, and listen to the podcast. I appreciate everybody out there that listens and watches the What's for Dinner cooking videos as well. If you guys ever want to write into the podcast, and I never even thought about this, there'll be a tag down in the description. You should see it on Apple, iTunes, Podcasts, and YouTube, with the email address that you can write into, because I have some good and bad things that have been happening. Not really so much bad. Typical bullshit. We'll get into that. First thing, the weather up here a few days ago was pretty bad. Like, I don't remember, like 1 degree or whatever Fahrenheit. And the furnace went out. So the maintenance guy came over and changed the coupler, put on a cheap coupler, and a new gas line. But I was excited about that. Didn't screw it all the way in. Kicked on, ran, and then when it kicked back on, a different maintenance guy came out, new coupler, a better quality one, tightened the gas line. It went out again. Later that night, they came out again. It went out again. Okay, so I will say, though, they have been taking care of us. The maintenance guy, his furnace just recently went out. So he lent us his space heater, which I don't know your name, but I appreciate it. And then they came in. So we were out heat for maybe 2 days, but during the coldest time of the freaking year, and they put a new furnace in. So I got to give it to them. I mean, since we've been here, they gave us a new dishwasher and whatnot, and I really do appreciate it. So, and then on little guitar news, Paul Gilbert just came out with his 30th anniversary Ibanez PGM 333. And if you don't know who that is, check him out. One of the best guitar players, one of my idols. I'll never be as good as him, and that's fine. I'm not that technical of a guitar player, but one of my favorite guitar players to listen to. And guy speaks fluent Japanese. He used to be, I don't know if he still is, artist relations for Japan out there. And I believe his wife is Japanese too. That always helps when you're learning the language. So on to the little conflict. I've got a conflict with somebody at work, which everybody can relate to, which you always have one person that you work with. Doesn't matter how many people work there. Doesn't matter how old you are. There'll always be somebody that doesn't like you or you don't like them, or the feeling is mutual, or vice versa. So I'm not really going to get into that, but I have been told that this person may be staying at my job. Normally where I work, they train them, get them out into a different store. That's fine with me. I no longer work in the pawn shop industry for now. I would like to own my own one, but that's a whole nother story. And I've talked about it on other podcasts. Just don't have the coin. $125K liquid. Used to be $100K. And we can get into the pawn shop stuff real quick. I don't even know if I played this clip.
Who the fuck said that?
Yeah, I think I did. And we have no reads for the week.
It's not sudden. Preparation.
Or lack
As far
thereof.
as the actual-
Do one more time with
It's
that.
not sudden. Preparation. As far as the actual job's concerned, it's a piece of piss. A monkey could do it. That's what I thought of you.
Yeah, sexy beast. So pawn shops have pretty much everything in the store is everything that you would want and nothing that you need. And I know that may sound a little crazy. We'll get further into it. But a lot of people don't even know what a pawn loan is, and I've explained that in previous podcasts, which should still be available out there. But, so it's not necessarily anything that you need. Okay, a lot of people like big TVs. Some people like big jewelry or just jewelry in general. You may want to get married one day. So they have jewelry, and we'll get more into that. Engagement rings, whatnot. A lot of tungsten steel is big. We might talk about a little bit about that too. Guitars, even if you are a guitar player, you don't necessarily need to have a guitar. It's just like a dishwasher. You don't necessarily need to have a dishwasher. You could wash them by hand. It's a matter of convenience. I get it. Now, if you're a working musician and that's how you make your money, maybe you do need a guitar. But those guys tend to already have mini guitars, mini basses, mini drums, whatever the hell. Many, not mini, but you know what I mean. So, let's say you're getting married. And I would put this up against jewelry stores, okay? Now, a lot of pawn shops, even ones that are more prominent, even if I had a small pawn shop, I would still order in new product because like a lot of the tungsten steel ones, a lot of what the guys wear, cost-wise, the store may be paying $17 for one, and they're charging $89.95 for one. Never scratch, never blemish, blah, blah, blah. I get it. And that's not even that high of a markup on jewelry. On jewelry, it's usually about 100% gross profit margin. So say you're paying $60 if you're a store from a wholesaler, those earrings or whatever they may be could be $600 retail. Now, typically they're not, because anytime I have ordered from a wholesale jewelry company, the price was always less than what I thought it was going to be. Well, the profit margin on some of that stuff is not as high as what you'll see in some of these jewelry stores. Would I buy something brand new from a jewelry store? The answer is no. I would die first. If I found out that my wife had bought something brand new from a jewelry store, I'd make her take it back. If you finance something from a jewelry store, you're most likely somewhere in that contract that you're signing for your payments and whatnot, you're not able to take it back. You may be able to take it back and get some kind of compensation for it, but you won't be, because you'll just be over under, just like a car or anything like that. There's some clause in there. I know that because I know a lot of people that have financed jewelry. Would I buy my jewelry from a pawn shop? Absolutely. That's the only place I've ever bought jewelry. A lot of times you have these McDonald's of pawn shops, like your Cashlands, your Cash America, and there's other companies that are tied into that, this big conglomerate, that they get to the end of the year and they don't want to pay taxes on that at the end of the year. A really big store that just has one store or many stores, but essentially is a small company. Let's take, there's a Lev's in Columbus, Ohio. Well, he also owns many stores, like 26, 27, 28, 33 stores, all over, some in Indiana, some in Ohio, one down in Florida. Now, he's going to wait for the money anyways for someone to come in and buy it. They're going to pay a tax on everything that's in their store, but it's more or less a base tax. Once you have so much inventory, you're not paying taxes on each and every single item. A big store that has 1,500 stores, like I just said, the Cash Americas, stuff like that, they're still paying that same kind of tax. So, but in essence, after the item has been there for so long, they're going to discount the item quarterly. So every 3 months. Think of a year. I know not a lot of people know about retail, so I get it. But in essence, too, that big TV, you don't even necessarily need a TV. So I don't really need to go there. But think about it. I mean, Well, you can say, well, I want to listen to music on headphones. Well, some of these places might have even aftermarket high-end headphones. Got to watch out for fakes because there's a lot of fakes out there when it comes to that. Would I buy headphones from a pawn shop? Yes, if they had experts in, newer technology. I haven't really seen any knockoff TVs, but I'm sure they're out there. But, I mean, because a lot of times they're just all made in the same factory and they slap whatever name on them. So, you could have a Funai TV and they're making your Emerson. The list goes on, And now a thing just came out about Vizio. TVs are watching you. They're watching all the stuff that you look up. They're selling your information. I mean, it's kind of fucked up. Some people will put a piece of tape over their camera, on certain devices. I don't blame them. But essentially, whatever. We'll get back onto the jewelry real quick. Okay. So, say you want to get married to a woman or man, whoever you may be. That's fine. I get it. You don't want to get ripped off. You want to go to a reputable pawn shop where you may know some of the workers, and they can even go, well, I'm not necessarily an expert in jewelry or diamonds, but I can point you to this guy over here. He's a nice guy. Normally you don't want to deal with the owner. Let's just put it that way. You want to deal with a worker there that wants to make some money for his boss, doesn't want to rip you off, wants to give you a fair deal. And, yeah. And so you do got to watch your ass. But I will say, you'll save a lot of money. And now everybody's like, well, it's used jewelry, and my wife won't wear a used wedding band. Okay, fine. She won't wear a used wedding band. I get it. But a lot of people don't know the pawn shops, a lot of them have not necessarily even used, and this is where we're getting to it, brand new diamonds, loose diamonds. Go in there, ask for the loose diamonds, see if they have any. And then on top of that, because they could have like a jeweler in the back, goldsmith or silversmith, in the back, working on stuff. They have loose diamonds. And let me tell you something. Well, my wife won't wear a used diamond. Well, it was used when they got it out of the fucking ground, okay? Before they cut it down, okay? What you want to look for, especially in these diamonds, is like laser drilled, or it's even water drilled holes where they go in and they're trying to fix the imperfections with inside that diamond. That's not a diamond that you want. And reason being, because if you go to a guy that knows what he's looking at, and you come into my pawn shop and you have a diamond that's like that, yeah, it's a nice gesture. You bought it for your wife, but you probably got fucking hosed on it, and now you need a loan. You never thought you were going to need a loan, but now you got to pay rent, you got to pay your mortgage, you got to do whatever you got to do. Now you need a loan. Guess what? I'm not going to loan that on that item. I don't care if it's loose. I might give you a loan based on the weight of the band, and we'll get more into the band. You go to some of these bands, and we were just talking about profit margin. You'll have a $5,000 band, even if it's custom. Guess how much they probably paid to have that in their store? Just take a guess. $500. What if they even paid $800 or $1,000? Which they're not paying $1,000. They're charging you $5,000 just for a fucking band. And you already have the diamond. It's just your setting. They're going to set it in there. Yeah, they're going to include all these bullshit fees, blah, blah, blah. Listen, all that insurance through the jewelry stores and extra $100 will take care of it. Don't fucking no. Don't fucking do it. You get homeowners insurance. You take it to a reputable appraiser that can give an appraisal on the item, and they'll do it for twice the amount that it's really worth. Because your homeowner's insurance, when you lose that diamond or you lose the whole band and the diamond, blah, 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 they're only going to give you half. So the appraisal is going to be for twice the amount. On other items, they're not going to do that with. Even if it was a watch, most likely they're not going to do that with. If it's a guitar, appraisers are not going to do that for you. I know, I've got appraisal slips upstairs. I've done a couple of appraisals. But that's just the way it works. That's how the cookie crumbles. And again, back to these diamonds. You know, you have moissanite. And I've seen where other pawn shops, especially in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm not going to say any names, that were derived from where I worked, which was Uncle Sam's Pawn Shop. I'd been there since 1951. They'll lie to you, too, and say 1950. That they would take in moissanite. Back in the day, in the 80s, when moissanite came out, a lot of pawnbrokers got took for a loop. I said, no pun intended, you know, a loop like you're looping a diamond. They got walked down the primrose path and they got fucked. That's a good way of putting it. They got fucked. Yeah. And they lost money. But moissanite has a green tint to it. And to the naked eye, even through a loop, you're not going to know what the fuck you're seeing. So that's why you need to go to a reputable shop. That way, if something happens, take it back to them. Or they have a moissanite tester, because some of the diamond testers aren't well equipped enough to tell whether it is moissanite or not. Let's just put it that way. The shops will buy these cheap ones. And I mean, I can't blame them. They might cost $20, $25. They buy it off eBay, brand new, blah, 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 blah. You want a good one, you're going to be paying at least like $100, $200. I've looked into it. You know, if I started a jewelry store, which I've thought about, which I want it, I would do a buy and sell shop. And, but the goddamn overhead would be so freaking high. At least in this town. If I were to go to like Clintonville or somewhere like that, I'd have to pay more attention to the shop if something happened. But here, not so much. Let's just put it that way. Or downtown. Yeah, it'd just be a lot cheaper. So, yeah, there's many things that you don't want to buy from a pawn shop. Would I buy a used TV from a pawn shop? Most certainly. But I will say this, and I'm kind of disappointed in a lot of the people that I know, because I sold TVs for years. I was selling tube TVs back in the day. I'd buy them at the fucking thrift store if they were in really good condition. But that's always because I knew how to test them out. And also out there are certain models that are like hotel models. You know, now, I'm sure they still make models like this on the, you know, LED TVs and stuff like that. I don't own an LCD TV, liquid crystal display. I own all LED TVs, light emitting diode TVs. Almost forgot that. It's funny how you've been out of it for like a year and you're forgetting this shit already. So, I mean, that's what it is. Most cookie cutter McDonald's style of pawn shops, where they're a big chain, they're going to have a lot of people that work in there that don't know what the fuck they're doing, that don't know what LCD means, that don't know what LED means. They don't know any of this shit. Can't explain much of anything to you. And, yeah, they have a job there. Well, guess what they also don't know how to do? Test out certain things. Like test out the inputs on TVs. Would I go to a reputable pawn shop where I know they know how to do their job, or they know, hey, maybe all the inputs on this one works except for this one. They explain to you, give you even better of a deal. TVs are so freaking cheap right now compared to what they used to be. I remember my boss, he paid, I can't remember, but it's good money. It was one of the first 4K TVs came out, and it was a 70-inch TV. You know, they're nothing now compared to what they used to be. Would I buy one from a pawn shop? I would buy one from a place that, say it's a 2016 TV or 17 TV, they're not basing the price off of the new price. I'm not saying, like, say the TV's $850 back in a few years ago, 2 years ago, and they have the TV for, let's just say, $350, $450. We'll say $450. I wouldn't buy that TV. If they have the TV to where it's comparable to today's models, you know, some of those earlier TVs, the first few years that the 4K TVs were coming out, are a lot better made than some of the others. Someone bought a TV the other day, and it was I can't remember if it was 60-inch. I think it was a 60-inch. You know, and one of the TVs I got is one of the older 4K, 50-inch, you know, 4 input, blah, blah, blah. Well, this 60-inch TV, same brand as the one I have, only has 2 inputs on it. Says it's 4K. I don't know if it's true 4K. That's the thing. And another thing is, your eyes don't even see in 4K. You know, there's some fucking channel out there. I can't remember if it's Better Understanding or, I can't remember. Hold on. I got to get the whistle wet. Ay, ay, ay. But yeah, if I knew, you know, a lot of the times too, I had bought, the TV was $439 new or something like that. At the time when I bought it, I paid $100 for it, and I bought it off a customer that walked through the door. Still had all the plastic on it. Funny enough, the TV still was signed into a Netflix account. So, yeah, the guy's story was probably bullshit and whatnot. But, you know, it's not my job. I'm not a cop, you know. So it's not my job to figure out if it's stolen. Well, technically, when I'm buying it for myself, yes, it is. But I bought it through the store. It cleared the police hold, which, at least in Ohio, you have a 14-day police hold almost on every item before it is put out for sale. There's a big misconception that if your stuff is stolen, you go into a pawn shop, you're going to look around and you're going to play detective and you're going to find your item. Well, that's bullshit. You're going to sift around and act like you're a consumer. You're wasting the fucking salesperson's time, especially if they're just a worker there. If they're the owner, fuck it, waste their time, who cares? That's what you're there for. You're the owner, you know? Now, if your stuff's stolen, you will have to pay whatever the pawn shop paid to get it back. A lot of the time, they'll just let you have it back. But trust me, if they invested a decent amount of money in it, you will be paying that back. You can put it into the thieves, court fees, and whatnot. Excuse me. And essentially, over time, they will be paying you back. So, I mean, there's another times, too. You know, anything I've ever bought from a shop, because I used to go around to every single pawn shop in Columbus, Ohio, and look for deals, and I had my own business and my own website, and I would put stuff on the website, and I couldn't get items quick enough. I was just thinking about this today. I bought a Fender. I know this doesn't matter, but to those who know, to whom it may concern, I think it was a PA 120, Fender PA 120, and it's a PA, public address. this dumbass I used to work with said, PA stands for Pro Audio. I said, no, it stands for Public Address. No, it's a PA 135. 135 watt amp. A bunch of channels and shit. A lot of guitar players now use them for jumping channels. I think I sold it for $400. Well, and it may sound like I was a shyster, but I was just doing anything I could do. At the time, I took all the tubes out of it, all the old Fender tubes. They'll call them quad sets, where they're all rated about the same. When you put it into a tube tester, and they'll make match sets. Quad sets are worth even more, and I pulled them out, put some Russian ones in there at the time. Now even Russian ones are not generic, but these were Russian generic 12AX7s, and pretty sure I left the 6L6s in there. I think it was 6L6s. It had to have been for 135 watts. And I replaced them with the Russian ones, and I sold a quad set wholesaled them out to a company that was selling tubes on eBay, and they were asking quite a bit more money than I was asking for them, and also through email. So, but there is stuff I would buy. I did test out that amp. That's another thing. Amps, a lot of guitar guys that buy and sell guitars and amps won't buy amps to resell them. There's just a host of problems that you can have with them. And good, that's another thing. Any advice I would say to people that buy and resell stuff, guitars sell. If you're buying and selling guitars and amps and pedals and whatnot. If you have a storefront, not so much. If you're shipping that thing through the mail, though, that's what you got to think. There's a lot of things that can happen to an old, 40, 50-year-old amp, 30-year-old amp, 20-year-old amp through the mail, It's just the breaks. But just as a consumer, I'd be leery about what you bought, but I will say you're going to get a much better deal on a piece of jewelry from a pawn shop than you'll ever get from a jewelry store. And I don't care if the person says, I want to wear it because it's used. Well, come on. How humble are you? Or how conceited are you that you need to have this brand new fucking piece of gold, and gold's so soft you're going to fucking scratch it up anyways. That's another thing. My wife, I've got her some 18 karat gold and some 14 karat gold. She's a little bit more delicate than I am, though. But all bang for your buck, especially if you're a guy or your wife looks like a guy. Bang for your buck. You get 10 karat because, it's stronger. It just makes sense. Fuck, if they make it different carats for your teeth, for your crowns. Fuck, I wish they made it for jewelry because I'd be buying it. That's just how it is. Hollow stuff, stay away from the hollow stuff. I have one hollow piece, but I'm talking the big gaudy shit where it's hollow on the inside. This is my opinion. And there's other stuff you can get really good deals on too, like bicycles, especially if it doesn't shift correctly. You can say, setup on a bike is not cheap, Setup on a guitar isn't cheap anymore. A lot of guys are charging $100. I used to charge, for a long time, I charged $35 for a setup on a guitar. Then I started changing it. Changed it to $50. Problem is, I became friends with everybody that I did guitar repair for, and then I wouldn't charge them as much. That's just the way it goes. But when you're doing that kind of work, you can charge whatever the fuck you want. And a lot of times when you charge more, you look more professional. But as a consumer as a whole, there were some things that I almost bought or did buy from Guitar Center where they just had a crazy fucking deal on something that was even used. But usually it was a pawn shop. They didn't care. They didn't have that much money in it. They just wanted to sell it. It had been sitting there forever. But now with eBay and the way the internet and everything is. People look the stuff up. But the thing is, if there's none on the market and they can't find them and they have no knowledge of that piece of the item, they've never sold one before, they've never seen one before, and now there's none on the market. There's none in the completed listings on eBay. What are they going to do? Well, they're just going to do a general assessment, size you up, look you up and down, maybe see the car that, if they have windows in their storefront, see the car that you drove in there. How I used to drive a little, one of my favorite cars, a little piece of shit Ford Escort in there. A Fender Escort. Escort from the west side. I'm just kidding. I used to drive that in there, and I didn't try to wear... I had jewelry on, but I was buying and reselling stuff. I wasn't trying to put out there that I had any kind of money. And I didn't wear that great of clothes. I'm not saying I look like a bum. But, if you look at a guy and he looks like he's got a shit ton of money, I mean, that $130 amp that I sold for $400, then got some more money out for the tubes, you might just do a general assessment of me, size me up and go, that's $200. Well, that's cutting into my fucking profits right there, So, think about that stuff when you're buying it too. Don't be too flashy. Maybe go in and look, try to find something that, if you're looking for jewelry for your wife or something, for the holidays, for Valentine's Day's coming up, you might not want to take her in there, unless she knows more about jewelry than you do. And a lot of people don't know much about jewelry. I didn't for years, even when I first started working there. Because where I worked, they wouldn't let us really deal with it so much. It wasn't until I went to another company. But at that point, I already felt comfortable with it. I was the only person in the whole district to buy a Rolex, and they gave me shit for it. That tells you how smart they are. So, I don't know what days I'm gonna put these out. You can reach me. It's Shoptalkwithdrew at Yahoo. Any questions, concerns, email me about the little conflict I got going on at work. I don't really even think I talked that much about it. But basically, I'm not really that happy with everything that's going on, or about anything. It doesn't matter. Check us out on Shop Talk Podcast, shop_talk_podcast. Instagram, there's some pictures and whatnot. And I hopefully have some different things coming up. I forgot to mention, I got a buddy working on a computer for me. And that way I can type stuff out now. It's just very fucking inconvenient. But yeah. I hope you learned something. Anyways, I appreciate everybody out there that listens on Apple Podcast app, and also everybody that watches the What's for Dinner cooking videos on YouTube at Shop Talk Podcast. This is Drew signing off. I hope you guys have a great week. Let's see if I can get this right.
Please like and subscribe and share so I can think my dad is cool.
Okay, you guys take care. Have a great week. I'm going to try to enjoy mine. That's for sure.
Ain't no changing what's left. Can it be that it was all so simple then? Because we all race against death. Can it be that it was all so simple then?